Hello, I'm Andreas, your tech-curious web designer. Welcome to my channel. On this channel I'm creating content for web development. And as you might have noticed, my preferred stack is Django, HTMX and Tailwind CSS. I've created some easy to follow tutorials on how to create a frontend with Tailwind CSS and Alpine.js, how to build a backend with Django and HTMX, how to build a real-time chat application with Django channels, and also how to deploy a Django application to a web server. If you're interested in those, you can find a link in the description below. This is the start of a new series where we will see how we can send email and newsletters to many users using Celery, an open source asynchronous task queue system which can handle background tasks in Django. We will also use our Redis database and also incorporate logging tools so we can monitor the background tasks and the website's performance. In this video, we get started by setting up a basic project. We create a message board where people can subscribe to receive email notifications when a new message is posted, and we will see how Python's built-in threading module can handle these tasks in the background. But before we dive in, a quick shout out to my new supporters on Patreon. A high five to Piotr and to Jonathan. Thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. Alright, and now without further ado, let's get started. So here I'm inside Visual Studio Code as my coding editor, and I have an empty folder called Celery. Into here now I install my Django-Starter application, which has core functionalities already built in, such as the user authentication with OAuth. You can grab those files from my GitHub repository at github.com/ndjut/django-starter. If you're interested to know how I built this project, check out this video. You find a link to the tutorial on this page in the README file. Okay, and to get those files, I click here on the code button and download zip. Or we can use the git clone command. For this, I'm copying this line here. Open up a new terminal and paste it in here. Okay, we have the files now. Next, let's create a virtual environment. For Mac users, this would be Python 3-m venv venv. And then we activate it with source venv/bin/activate. Alright, next we upgrade pip. Then we install the dependencies from the requirements.txt file. Then we create the tables in the database with Python manage.py migrate. Then we can create a super user. And then we start up the server with Python manage.py run server. Alright, the starter project is now installed. Let's check it out. I go to localhost :8000. And we have the starter code up and running. Let's build now our new application. Firstly, I will add the title of this project. So I'm going to my templates folder, to includes, to header, and here I'm calling this project Celery. And I also give it a different header color. Emerald 500. Okay, save this file. Refresh the page. And we are ready to roll. To start, I create a new app for this project. I open up a new terminal so I can let the application run in the other one, but I have to make sure I'm inside the virtual environment, so I activate it here. And then I create a new app with Python manage.py start app, and I give it a name a_messageboard. This created now my message board folder here. Then let's add this app to our installed apps in the settings file. So inside the core folder, settings.py, I add here this app. And as next, let's create a view. So I go to the folder here, to views.py. I define here the message board view function. And for now, I just return a static page. I also add the login required decorator. Alright, now let's create this index.html file. I copy the path. Then click on my app folder and create inside a templates folder. Then inside templates, I create a new file and paste the path in here. This created now the index.html file. I'm extending here from the blank layout, and then I'm adding the content block. Alright, and inside this block now I add the code for the page. You can get it from my online repository at github.com/ndjut/celery. Let's copy the code and paste it in here. Okay, save this file. I see here some warnings in the terminal. It seems like it needs a relaunch. Let's do that quickly. And also Python. Alright. Next, let's create a URL file. Inside the app folder, I add urls.py. I add here the URLs patterns and my path to the message board page. Now we have to link it up with the main URLs file in the core folder. And I'm including here the message board URLs. Okay, save this file. And to display this message board on the home page, I simply add a redirect in the home view. So I'm going to my home app, to views, comment this line out, and add here a redirect to the message board. Alright, save this page, start up the server, and check out the page. It has a login required decorator, so we have to sign in. And here we have our message board. Nice.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Okay, and now let's make it work. So first, let's create the database models. So I'm going to my message board folder here, to models.py. So first we have here the message board class, which has the subscribers as a property with a many-to-many field with a user class. And I represent this object in the admin interface with the ID. Then we have the message class, which has a foreign key relationship with the message board, with the related name of messages, an author property with a foreign key relationship with the user. Then we have the body property with a char field and a created property with the date time field. I'm ordering the objects by the newest to the oldest and represent them in a database with the author's username. Alright, save this file. Now let's add them to the admin.py file to display them in the admin interface. So I'm registering here the message port and the message class. And import the models. Okay, save this file. Now let's do a migration to the database. With Python manage.py make migrations. And Python manage.py migrate. Alright. I have the website running in my other terminal, so we can check out the admin interface. So let's go to admin. Here we have our message port tables. And I create here my first message port. And save. Alright, we have created now a message port with the ID of 1. Let's also quickly update the site's information. We need them for the email later on. So here for now I just add a dummy domain, my message port, and also display name. Okay, and save. Alright, we have now a message port, and let's create some messages. I go to the views.py file. In this project we're working only with one single message port, so I fetch it here manually with the ID of 1. Let's add the imports now. I add the getObject of 4 function. And import the models. Okay. Then I define here the context variable with the message port object and add it to the return statement. Okay, save this file. Now we can access this message port object in the template. So let's go to our index.html file. Here the article elements represent the messages. So let's create here a loop with the first element. So for message in messageport.messages.all. And I also add reversed, so the newest added message is at the bottom of the list. And close it with N4. Then we add the variables. So here we have the link to the profile page. And I'm passing through the author's username. Then we have the author's avatar. Then here we have the author's name. And username. Then here we have the date and the time when this message was created. And here also calculate the time since. And finally we have the body of the message. Okay, save this file. And let's check out the website. I refresh the page. And alright, we have no messages yet. Let's add the logic now to write a message. For this we need a form, so let's create a forms.py file. We need the model form, the forms class to style the input field, and the model itself. So I create here this message create form, add the meta class, access the message model. We are interested in the body field and the widgets to style the input field. With a placeholder, Tailwind CSS classes, and a max length. Okay, save this file. Now let's import this form in our views. So from forms, import everything. Then we instantiate here the form and add it to the context. Alright, with this we send the form to the front end. Now let's add the logic to save the data we get from the front end in the database. So if request method is post, we fetch the data from the front end. We check if the form is valid. Then we create a message object and set commit to false. Then we add the logged in user as the author. And also the message port property. Then we can save the message. And finally, redirect the user again to the message port page. Let's import the redirect function. And save this file. Now let's go to our index.html file and add the form. So here we have our form element. So I can delete the input field here. Add first the CSRF token, which we need for forms in Django. And add here the form object. And I also add here the avatar of the logged in user. Alright, save this file and let's check it out. So I refresh the page and post a new message. And it worked. We have one message on this message board now. Great. Next, we will look at the subscriptions. So I want users to be subscribed first in order to post a message. I'm going to the view. So in here, I'm checking if the logged in user is subscribed to the message board. In that case, we save the message in a database. Else, I display a message that you need to be subscribed. And for both conditions, I redirect to the message board. Okay, let's import the messages. And let's do a test. I'll refresh the page. Test. This should not work right now because I'm not subscribed yet. And indeed, I get the message. So let's add now the subscribe button. First, I update the front end. So in index.html, here we have the subscribe element. So if the user is subscribed, I display you're subscribed, else subscribe. And I close it with end if. Then here we have the subscribe button. I add here a subscribe link. Let's create this URL now. So I save this file, go to my urls.py file, and add here the subscribe URL. Okay. Now let's create this subscribe function. So in the views.py file, I add a login required decorator. Then I define the subscribe function. Then we get the message board object. Then I add here the logic to check if the logged in user is not yet in the list of subscribers. And if this is the case, I add it to the list. And then return back to the message board page. Okay, save this file and let's have a look. I refresh the page. Then I click subscribe. And as we can see, I'm subscribed now. Let's add also the functionality to unsubscribe when I click on this button. So first I would like to display a different button on the front end. So back to my index file. I add here the same condition as before. So if the user is subscribed, I copy this line here and change this to unsubscribe. Then I change the background color to gray, 300, and the hover color to red. All right. Then I add here else. And I close it with end if. Okay, save this file. This was the front end. Let's add now the logic to the views.py file. So else, so if the logged in user is subscribed, I want to remove it. Okay, save this file and let's check it out. I refresh the page. At the moment we see we are subscribed, so I want to unsubscribe now. And as we can see, that worked. Nice. Okay. So next, let's show all the subscribers here. So first the front end, so I'm going to my index file. Here we have the subscribers list. Let's show here the subscribers count with messageboard.subscribers.count. And then I also pluralize the subscribers here using the pluralize template filter. Okay. Then here we have a list of all the users. Let's create a loop here. So for subscriber in subscribers.all, close the for loop, and then we add the variables. Again here link to the profile page of the user. Then we have here the avatar and the subscriber name. Okay, save this file. I refresh the page and we have one subscriber. Awesome. Now next I add the functionality to send an email. So whenever I post a message here, I would like to send an email to all the subscribers of this message board. For this we need an email client as the backend, and I'm choosing Gmail. So if you don't have an email client yet, you can set one up for free with Gmail, and I got here a step-by-step guide for you. Check it out. Okay, let's add the Gmail configurations in our settings.py file. So here at the very bottom, so instead of console, we choose here SMTP as our email backend. Then I'm adding here my configurations. So the email host user, then the email host password Gmail provides you with. Then we have the email port, TLS is true. Default from email is the sender. So also here we can say my message board. And I'm removing Django's default subject prefix. Okay, save this file. Now let's add the logic to our view. So after the message is saved in the database, I would like to send a notification email to all the subscribers. And for this I'm creating this send email function. We will create this function in a second. And I'm passing through the message object. Okay, let's create this function. So first I fetch the message board object. Then I retrieve the subscribers list. And then I'm creating a loop to send a message to each subscriber. The subject says new message from the message author. Then we have the body here, where we display the message. Then we create an email message object with the parameters of subject, body, and email of the recipient. Let's import this email message class. And then we call the send function. Alright, save this file. And let's test this now. I refresh the page and post a message. And as we can see, it took almost 4 seconds to send the email to one subscriber. And in those 4 seconds, basically the website is not accessible. Now let's imagine we have more subscribers. But first let's check if the email actually arrived to our inbox. And indeed, we got the email, new message from admin, with the message email test. Alright, let's add 2 more subscribers to this message board and let's see how long that will take. Okay, Lucy and Pete have subscribed now as well, and Pete posts a new message. And enter. And this took now over 8 seconds. And this time obviously increases the more subscribers there are. So we need to find a solution for this problem. In this tutorial series we will learn how we can use Celery to run tasks in the background. But there is also a simpler option here using Python's built-in threading module. Let's see how that works first. So instead of sending the email straight from this function, I'm creating here an email thread using the threading module and instantiate a thread object. Let's import threading and within the parentheses we define the target which specifies the function the thread should execute and the arguments for the email. And with the start function, we execute the thread. Okay, let's create this send email thread function now. And this function handles now the sending of the email in a separate thread. And our main application can continue working uninterrupted. Okay, save this file. And now let's test this. I refresh the page. Post a new message and enter. And as we can see, there was no delay at all anymore because we moved the sending of the email to a background task. And our inbox received the email from Pete. Awesome! Alright, this is a simple but very useful Python module suited for simple tasks because it still shares the same CPU as the main application. In the next video we will look at a more powerful solution with Celery, which outsources the task to another machine to run completely independent from the main application. Alright, this is all for this time. Thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one. Stay curious my friends and bye bye for now.